Squadron Supreme. This is one of the classic comic series of the 1980s. Many people compare it favorably to DC Comics' Watchmen series, and you can see why. Squadron Supreme in the 80s and Watchmen both specialized in the deconstruction of the modern superheroes, breaking down the mythos and exposing them for what they really are. This series was influential in many ways, and it was quite interesting given their origins. The Squadron Supreme started out as the Squadron Sinister way back in Avengers 70, which came out in the late 60s, I believe. Take a look at this cover, which is a good cover, we shall say. And if you see here, we got, I think this is the work of Sal Buscema. We see Hyperion at the top, about to do battle with Giant Man or Goliath. I'm not sure what Hawkman was calling himself here. But Hyperion's got himself a titanium diaper, or how it looks. He definitely improved his clothing later on. You got the Wizard wearing his blue and yellow outfit, about to claw Thor's eyes out. I don't know what he's thinking. That's a very unwise move. You got Dr. Spectrum loosely holding his power prism in his hand. You gotta hold a tight grip on that thing. Without that, you're powerless. And going up against Iron Man. Meanwhile, Nighthawk, with his Shock G Humpty Dump nose, if you remember him from Digital Underground, going to work against Captain America. But anyways, the Squadron Sinister made a big impact as villains in the regular world, but in the 1980s series Squadron Supreme, they basically had the world to themselves. They did not interact with other heroes or villains. They were basically, in the series, the only heroes there were. So, we're going to get into it. We're going to get started. I'm not going to do a ranking of top 10. It's a 12-part series. I'm going to give each comic a set of stars. So let's start with number one in the series. Now, this is a very typical looking cover, isn't it? Everyone's smiling, flying or running straight at the camera. I always kind of had a problem with covers like that, with teams. Like, if you were really in a superhero team, would you really be posing up like this, waiting for the photographer to tell you, all right, on your marks, get ready, go, and then the flying heroes are flying, and the super speed guys are up front. And if you're Lady Lark or Arcana or Golden Archer, who are here on this cover running, an amphibian over there running on the right, wouldn't you feel kind of dumb? And you'd be running with a smile on your face. You may as well be jogging. Everyone else got to be holding back to keep you around. Like Wizard up front, he has no reason to be around Lady Lark there. But anyways, these kind of covers to me are kind of lazy, kind of a way of just, here are some heroes at you. But knowing what this series is about, I kind of look at this differently, kind of ironic, almost like subverting the traditional team cover. At least that's the way I choose to look at it. The colors do pop on this cover, and the composition is pretty good. Some of the heroes are a little bit small, the way they appear, but look at Nighthawk looming in the back. All right, and of course he's in the box in the top left corner, so you can see something's up with him. The subversion happens there, so I don't know. For that reason, I think I'm going to give this 4 stars. I wanted to originally give it a 3, but I kind of convinced myself to bump it up to 4. Let's keep it going. Number 2 in the series. This cover I do not care for whatsoever. This is a pretty bad one in my books, and the big reason why is the background, the wishy-washy white and pinkish with the lines. By the way, this is the work of Bob Hall and Bob Layton. They did most of the covers, at least the first 5, but then later on you see a mixture of their work here and there. But Layton was all over this series for sure. Hyperion floating above the round table to do battle with the Scarlet Centurion. If you're a man using Scarlet in your name, that's kind of odd. And he actually wore something that looked kind of like a bustier, you know, looking like a 19th century Parisian prostitute is not a good look for a villain. His hood turned into a cape. He's a weird looking villain, man. Scarlet Centurion. This cover to me is just, I don't know. It wouldn't necessarily intrigue me. So to me, I can only give this a 2. I'm sorry. And we got a 2 for 2. Moving on to number 3. Now this is probably my favorite cover in the entire 12-issue run. Part of it is actually knowing what happens in this issue. I'm not going to get too into the story points, but this is a super dramatic issue. Nuke on the right, doing battle with Dr. Spectrum, which are basically counterparts of Firestorm and Green Lantern. I love the colors on this cover. I like the muted backgrounds, the city below. That's Nuke's hometown. This is a tragic issue, by the way. This battle captures a lot of emotion, I think. Again, this issue to me, if I was a new reader, would have turned me into an obsessed fan. Okay, this issue really hits hard, and I feel that the cover did too. There's no text on it, there's no typeface on it. The action speaks for itself, and I find it quite dynamic in its own way. I love this cover. This is a 5-star for me. Moving on, number 4 in the series, Lady Lark, the heroine in the behavior modification machine, which was part of the Utopia project. Squadron Supreme basically were there to brainwash former villains into do-gooders. Lady Lark was no villain. So this cover in particular would make you wonder what in the why, just like it says in the bottom right, why? And of course you see Golden Archer looking suspicious, slinking off. He's the one that did it. Mind altered her for reasons of love. Reasons of love. Come on, man. Golden Archer. What a name, Golden Archer. Sponsored by McDonald's. All right, but to me, I do like this cover. The white, plain white background to me is the major downfall of it. But all in all, look at the reactions. Tom Thumb in the bottom right. Even Hyperion, like, hey, wait a minute there. Blue Eagle, like, what? What just happened? And Arcana thinking, like, is there magic I can do to reverse this? And of course, Golden Archer looking highly suspicious right there. This is a dynamic cover. To make a person sitting in a chair look dynamic, an unconscious person sitting in a chair dynamic. To me, that's an accomplishment. This is 4 stars right here. We're gonna move on to number 5 in the series. This one goes. This is no 4 or 5 star. That's for sure. Ugh. The colors on this, the lima bean background, the big TV with the images of the family members of the Squadron Supreme, but it just doesn't catch you. The villains, Lamprey, Quagmire, Foxfire, and Shape on the right there, coming, or at least posing up with this television as all the Squadron Supreme look on like, hey, what are we gonna do about this? Look at Whizzer in particular down here. This is 2 stars. I mean, it's not badly drawn. I just think the TV, it's a weird, I don't know, but it's really the colors that bring it down more than anything. It's not so much that the penciling was bad, but y'all could have done better. But the composition too, I think, doesn't capture what you really want in this issue, or at least in the series. We're gonna go on to number 6. The color contrast definitely work better on this than they did in number number 5, and you see Amphibian in the top left in the box there. Again, this issue is actually pure Bob Layton. He did the penciling and the inking in this. It's not bad. The colors are good. The drawings of the characters themselves are fine. There's just not really a lot happening. There's no movement. Lamprey is being introduced to the Squadron Supreme, and he looks like he's ready to clock somebody. Quagmire is smoking calmly with his arms crossed, and Ape X in the back, in her mobile, I don't know, wheelchair or whatever you'd call it, mobility assistance. And then Shape, like, yep, I'm part of the team now. I don't know, it's not terrible. It's not badly drawn. The colors are okay, but there's not a lot going on. I give this a 3. Let's move on. Let's see. This is a great series, I gotta say. But the covers, I don't think always live up to the greatness of the series itself. Number 7. This is the work of John Buscema and Bob Layton. John Buscema, well known for a lot of his work on Avengers, or at least during this time when I was an Avengers reader. The penciling, the inking is great on this, but the composition itself is, I don't know. I mean, Hyperion here is ripping up this big machine out the ground, but what is it? And there's no background at all. The base of the machine doesn't really seem to have much to it, much substance. It almost looks two-dimensional. Hyperion looks mad, and he himself is, striking a very powerful and dramatic pose, ripping this thing on his face. He looks like he really wants to do damage. But then you just see some hand of some random person. I don't know who that is. I don't remember who that is. And coupling that with the blank background, it just doesn't answer enough questions about what's in the issue. What am I going to read here? Who is he going to smash with that machine? And what is that machine? And why is there no background? So I give this a 3. This could have easily been higher than a 3 if there was more sense of what was going on. I like Power Princess in the top left. She's looking good up there. Go to number 8. Hyperion versus Hyperion to the death. I'm not really a fan of doppelganger stories or clones or things like that. So that element alone would have maybe disinterested me. But the colors work beautifully on this cover. The Mount Rushmore in the back with the stars in the sky. Mount Rushmore is getting kind of cut off by the box. That itself, I think, was... Maybe they could have, reorganized that a little bit. But anyways, on this one, this is Bob Hall and Bob Layton again. One thing I kind of don't like so much, Hyperion is straight up like backhanding him, a back fist with his left. But the Hyperion on the bottom, his face, or at least it doesn't look like the impact of that blow is really affecting him the way it should. So I don't know if I take points away for that. I give this a 3. It's again well drawn. The colors are great. I just don't like clones and doppelgangers and whatever you want to call that. To me, that alone brings it down. And of course, in the background, Whizzer could very easily have gotten there in time to do something about it, but of course, no, he's not. Dr. Spectrum too, way in the back. Isn't that convenient? Okay. Okay, we're gonna move on. Number 9. Now, let me tell you about this one. This is the first issue of Squadron Supreme that I ever read. I was a child at the time. I didn't read the other ones, and I discovered this comic from Red Lobster. That's right, the restaurant, Red Lobster. Back in those days, they gave a lot more than just shrimp scampi and crab fest. They used to have loot boxes or treasure chests for the children. And this was in the treasure chest. So this was the introduction to a great series for me as a young man. Interestingly enough, this is a very dramatic story with a tragic end. All right, which I won't spoil too much. At last, the cure. There's nostalgia here. The colors pop. There's a lot of good stuff here, but one thing, and by the way, this is the work of Paul Ryan and Bill Sienkiewicz, okay, who is a legendary artist, Bill Sienkiewicz. But one thing that I cannot unsee in this are the white outlines around the characters. When you look at them, with the black background behind them, you can tell this, especially around Tom Thumb, you see it. Lamprey, you see it. Dr. Spectrum, Arcana, Shape, Power Princess, Wizard, you see the white outline for all of them. It makes me wonder what was going on there. It really, really kind of ruins what I'm seeing here. And it's the first thing that I see when I look at this cover. So despite all the good stuff about it, as well as the good memories, I think I can only give it a 3, because I think that white outline really bothers me. But maybe that's just me. All right, we're going to go on. We're on number 10. Now this one reminds me of all the TV shows in the 60s and 70s that had us worried about quicksand. You know, everybody thought quicksand was going to be a real threat. So we were all prepared for what we would do in case of it. Here they're caught in the Quagmire, the villain Quagmire, getting all these heroes caught up. Now, the colors just absolutely bring this one down to its knees. The muck itself is this grayish, whitish mix, or even the room itself, the colors in the room really fail it. Arcana is higher up on the right there, looking like she's standing up in it. Wizard's struggling way in the back. Hyperion's getting gripped up by a nurse. And others are, Dr. Spectrum, you see his hand, and Blue Eagle and Foxfire. They're sinking or look like they've already drowned, but of course they haven't. Still, for the 10th issue in a 12 issues limited series, I don't know why they would waste it on something like this. So I am gonna give it I'll give it a 3. I mean, there's still good artwork here, but the colors and some of what's going on here with I don't know, 3. I'm being generous, but I'll give it a 3. Moving on to number 11. Again, we're reaching the end. We're in the home stretch of the series. I hate the yellow. I hate the yellow on this cover. I really do. Master Menace is a pretty cool villain, but you can barely tell on this cover. Where he's on the right, you can just see him from the side. Blue Eagle getting manhandled by the Redeemers, or the Renegades, I should say. I don't know. Again, for the penultimate issue in the series, I feel like this one really lets it down. I can only give this a 2. Okay, and again, it's not because it's badly drawn. I just feel there's not enough going on here to justify this being the 11th in the 12th issue series. So, sorry. But again, the yellow to me is one of the biggest problems. We're on to number 12. This is the final issue in the series. Civil War, as you see in the bottom. This has got everybody in it. All right, you see the squadron members that remain being encircled by this potpourri of villains. All right, I like this cover a lot. I think the white, they could have done something else with the color in the back, some gradients, some other colors, but I like it. I think it's pretty fitting for the last issue of the series, especially knowing what happens too. This is Paul Ryan and Bob Layton. This team worked for quite a few issues towards the last stretch, or the last few. in the stretch of issues and covers here. I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give this one a 4. I can't give it a 5. And I do think it's better than a 3 because I think it does capture a lot of the drama that will ensue inside the pages of this issue. Spoiler alert, a lot of characters die, good and bad. This was a great series. I absolutely love Squadron Supreme. It's one of my fondest memories of growing up being a comic book reader. However, I kind of feel like the cover art and the interior art as well kind of let it down a little bit. I think the storytelling, the characters, all of that is fantastic. Triple A, material. I just wish that the visuals lived up to it. Squadron Supreme, you can see there's this cover that I believe Alex Ross did this one years later. Alex Ross is art into his own self. You can't really compare him to others. And then, a few years after this Squadron Supreme miniseries was this one-shot, Squadron Supreme, Death of a Universe. I've never forgotten about the Squadron Supreme. The way I was introduced to it was unique. I didn't really even know the back history that they were bad guys, that they were the Squadron Sinister, until much later as a reader. One thing, though, I didn't really keep up very much with Squadron Supreme in recent years, and to me, recent years is anything after 2000, or maybe even the mid-90s. So the past 25, 30 years, it's all a blur. But the 80s, man, that's where it was at. And very few comics hit as hard as the Squadron Supreme. That's right. Like and subscribe. This is the Pop Culture Cosmonaut, and we are out of here.